Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everybody had a great week. Today, we're going to talk about... We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a public service announcement. We have breaking news about an affliction that affects millions and millions of people around the world. This affliction is known as the fear of missing out, or FOMO for short. We also have some cures for FOMO we are going to share coming up to make 2022 the end of FOMO. If left untreated, FOMO could lead to permanent pre-order fatigue, dizziness from being sold out, extreme anger from missing the 30-second window, harmful thoughts of selling everything, drowsiness from constantly checking everywhere, memory loss, why did I buy this, headache, insomnia, financial vomiting, and a possible change in marital status. The first modern sighting of the FOMO, or fear of missing out, was with the HasLab cell barge, also known as Katana. So you got a case of Katana. And the thing about this is that HasLab is actually the perfect environment to foster, grow, and create FOMO, or fear of missing out. The reason HasLab is like this because it is a now or never. Either you buy it now or you do without. Or you pay 2, 3, 4 times. Is this thing going for $2,000? Originally was $500. Feeds that FOMO. It's like HasLab's a petri dish to FOMO. The only cure for Katana FOMO is a $2,000 expensive cure. Now, lucky for Transformers collectors, there are actually more treatments available. When it comes to the HasLab Unicron, there are a lot of people suffering in silence about their FOMO, and there are a few suffering out loud. And lucky for Transformers collectors, there's a small but very, very expensive pill you can buy, and that pill's called Zeta. It's for only $400, or maybe even more than $400. You can get yourself a Unicron. Now, it's not as big, it's a little smaller, but FOMO is a cure for FOMO with buying this guy. Well, some say it works. It hasn't quite passed clinical trials just yet. And this is not covered by your insurance. Transformers Fans Toys FOMO is real. Or is it just a sign of another condition? See, missing the Hannibal or even the Sweep for that pre-order, that's bad. But there is a cure. There is a possible cure. It's still very experimental, it's still in trials, but it is good old-fashioned waiting for a release date. See, when the pre-orders sell out, and people have that massive FOMO feeling. I feel like I just missed out, and I'll pay anything to get it. But what happens is, once all the pre-orders are filled, all of these retailers put more back up, more stock for sale, sometimes a little bit higher price, but what doesn't sell actually gets discounted or clearance down the road. Can you pick any of these that you've suffered from? Any of these ailments on the screen that you've possibly suffered from, and now you can see it really wasn't that bad? When it comes to the fear of missing out, there is FOMO in the Masters of the Universe. They call it classics. It's classic fear of missing out, classic FOMO. But it's not even FOMO, it's just Mo. You just straight missed out for a lot of reasons. Some people missed out because they didn't know about it, like myself, and others have the Mo because they just didn't care, and now they care. So there is no real cure for this Mo. You can mask the symptoms, you can treat the symptoms. So we'll talk about treating the symptoms. It's very expensive, and it is $100, $200, or $300 per shot, and you may need up to 100 shots. This may take a long time and a lot of money and a very expensive road to recovery. Now, there's another option. It's not a cure either, and it's only a temporary relief of the symptoms. It will mask the symptoms, but it is not a long-term fix. We call this the Masterverse Revelations. Now, some of these Masterverse Revelations figures look as good as the classics. But for the vast majority of them, the classic counterpart is still vastly better. But several of them will work, they will fill temporarily for the time being, and I hope they get better. Now, G.I. Joe FOMO is more like a bacterial infection. See, you thought you got rid of your early on G.I. Joe FOMO early in the day. You have satisfied that fix, and yet it comes right back. With all of the treatment and all of the expenses going along with G.I. Joe Classified, it's metastasized, it's back, and it's badder than ever. Seeing as how you've suffered through this illness once, over the past couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 times, here we go again, suffering through G.I. Joe Classified illness. But there is a cure. Well, there's actually multiple cures, and you could try any one of these cures that you like. We call one Amazon, another one Walmart, another one's Target, BBTS, Entertainment Earth. But now you have to understand, with every one of these cures, they carry their own side effects, such as damaged packaging, such as canceled pre-orders, such as higher price-itis. Some of those side effects might be worse than the actual FOMO you're trying to cure. When it comes to Star Wars, there are 2 strains of FOMO, and with that, one is the Star Wars Black Series, the other one is the Star Wars Vintage Collection. We call it BS and VC for short. So starting out with the BS, now this BS can actually be reoccurring over and over and over. Like you might find news almost daily about BS that does not stop, and it continues and continues to reoccur. And figures that peg-warmed that you could not get rid of, yes, the BS you couldn't get rid of years ago, comes back and comes back stronger. Well, there are some benefits to the BS. One of the biggest problems is some stuff never actually shows up. There is a syndrome dubbed as the peg warmer. Now, the problem with the peg warmer is that you cannot get these FOMO cures locally. So if you can't access the cures locally, sometimes you believe there is no cure and there's no way around it. When you go and all you see locally is peg warmers, it makes you give in to the FOMO. Now, Star Wars VC may sound kind of rough. It may sound like it's a pretty nasty case of the VC. But one thing, if left alone, VC usually clears up on its own. Now, there was a time when VC needed multiple rounds of treatment and still not knowing how long till you'd get over it. But nowadays, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. I think we might have all just gotten used to it. There's a modern shock therapy that will cure you. Shock therapy in the form of $229 for something that some people would expect to be $50 or $100 tops. $229. That shock therapy really does work, and it is a cure. They're still testing it, and they're going to keep testing it over and over and over to see exactly what voltage they need to put out next. And you cannot talk about Star Wars FOMO, cures for the FOMO, without variants. Obviously, there are variants within this FOMO plague, and one's called the Book of Boba, one's called the Droids, one's called a Nomad, one's called a Classic, one's called a Carbonized. So with all of this fun stuff, the Droids one does look cool, but the FOMO feeds all of these variants. And this is only a few of the variants, just for an example. So 2022 is going to be the end of FOMO. I've shared some cures. Some of them are still experimental. Some will work. Some will not. Some you'll just have to deal with it and suffer through. But we're going to end this FOMO in 2022. One of the things, buy what you like. If you like it and you know you like it, buy it. If it's something that you might not like, don't buy it. I mean, the fear of FOMO drives purchases that are completely unnecessary, that nobody needs, and stuff that down the road, there's a new term, I'm stuck with it. If you don't want it, skip it. See, that's the best feeling in the world to not be saddled with stuff that you do not want, but you have the things that you do want. FOMO and the fear of missing out and buying all of the exclusive just because they're exclusive, for why I'm not part of that world anymore. Pre-ordering is a way to secure your items. But again, like we've talked, when you pre-order, sometimes the stuff gets canceled. Well, it gets canceled for a lot of reasons. There's not enough stock to meet demand, and that was unforeseen, and there's other circumstances going on, and that's the world that we live in today. One of the solutions is to have multiple pre-orders at multiple places. Whichever one of them comes through will eventually come through, and that's a good thing. But then again, the pre-order, sometimes you only got 30 seconds to get it, and sometimes, yeah, you do kind of miss out. Just because a pre-order sold out doesn't mean you'll never have a shot at it again. And a lot of things that sell out come back in stock. Even with the state of the world today, it comes back in stock. And in-stock items that sit too long get clearance. That's one of my favorite words, clearance, discount. And I'm loving it. You should love it too. Also waiting for reissue. Let's say you missed out. The fear of missing out. And it's the end of the world. And now I'm going to be paying $150 for a $20 figure. Or $600 for a $80 figure. Well, guess what? It gets reissued. We live in a world where most stuff will eventually get reissued, or a better one will get made. Now, I can't say that for everything. That's not 100%, but it's pretty darn near 90%. And there's two examples on the screen of better. If you already suffered FOMO, that's a beautiful cure. And lastly, you can always break down and feed a scalper. Hey, scalpers got to eat too, right? But I do want to point out something that I've been hearing lately, because so many people suffer from Razor Crest FOMO. It is absolutely impossible to scalp a crowd-funded project. It's impossible to scalp something that is unlimited. So that's a topic for another day. I would like to hear what you think about that in the comments also. Is there any chance this mission fleet is a cure for Razor Crest FOMO? Oh, no, I didn't really say that. Okay. I really do want to hear what everybody thinks about this topic of FOMO, fear of missing out. Have you suffered from this? And are you getting over it? Do you find any of these tips helpful? And hopefully this was funny. Hopefully you got the comedy in this. And I think laughter is truly the best medicine of all. Like and subscribe. Tiberium Hanger out.